So Justin is the communications director and community outreach director for the Houston Botanical Gardens. And probably nobody here knows about the Houston Botanical Gardens. It's something that's very new happening over on the east side. And that's really why I wanted to have him come today and speak to us all. Justin was born and raised in Channelview, so he's a homeboy. Justin was previously director of communications at his high school alma mater, Westbury Christian School. Prior to that, he was a writer and publications editor for advancement and university communications department at Houston Baptist University. He started his career as a marketing coordinator and editor in the energy services sector. Justin has an undergraduate degree in marketing from Harding University in Arkansas, and his master's in public relations is from Michigan State. So having gone that far, I'm glad he made his way back to Texas and back to Houston. I'll turn it over now to Justin.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be with you today. I'm looking forward to sharing with you a little bit about the garden. I assume that I have permission to share my screen so I can show my presentation.
Yes.
So does everyone now see a slide?
Yes, we can see it, right?
Perfect, perfect. So yes, I'm aware that many people don't know about the Houston Botanic Garden. Hopefully, at least amongst yourselves, you won't be able to say that after this presentation. I have been with the garden since August of 2019, and I will admit, before I got this job, I didn't know anything about the Houston Botanic Garden. But it's really a great project. Again, being a native Houstonian, I'm really excited about what we're able to do. So I would imagine in an audience this big that there are some of you that have done some traveling and been to botanic gardens other places. You know, does anyone have a favorite that they specifically would like to mention? Yes.
Boucher Gardens.
Okay.
In British Columbia. Is it Vancouver Island? Oh, yes.
Yes.
Those are fabulous.
Singapore. A very popular one.
If anybody's ever traveling through Mobile, Alabama, there's a place called the Bellingrath Gardens that was created by one of the Coca-Cola magnates. Very nice place.
I actually got married in the Fort Worth Botanical Gardens. I'm divorced, but it was a beautiful wedding.
Excellent. So, so many of you obviously are aware at least of what a botanical garden is. For those maybe who are not as familiar, you know, a botanic garden is a living museum of plant collections grown for the purpose of education, conservation, science, and display. And Houston has been lacking in this area, which really, given our global standing, is kind of surprising. Botanic gardens are, you know, found around the world. And really most major cities have one. And so the Botanic Garden for Houston has been a dream for decades. And so we are so excited to finally be bringing that dream to life. And so, you know, one of the things that we like to show people and make sure that they understand is, you know, we are a cultural organization, basically a museum for plants. And so, you know, the organizations that you see here on the screen that are well known, these are our peers, and this is where we want to be seen. And we hope to rise, you know, to the caliber and to the importance to the city that these organizations have in their time. Now, specifically talking about our garden. So the mission of the Houston Botanic Garden is to enrich life through discovery, education, and the conservation of plants and the natural environment. And what you see there on your screen is part of our phase, it's basically our phase 1 map. There are a couple of items on there that didn't actually make it in phase 1, but we are on a 132 acre former municipal golf course. For anyone locally that used to play the Glenbrook golf course, that is the piece of property that we have transformed into the garden. So we are at I-45 South and Park Place, really close to Hobby Airport. Now, so that was our mission. We have several goals as well, though. And one of those goals, kind of things that we want to make sure that we provide, is enjoyment and serenity. These photos are not from our site yet. But again, this just kind of shows some of the things. And I am almost positive I did not put the presentation together, but I believe Butchart Gardens probably is at least the source for one of these photos. It is quite beautiful. Now, this is our space. And so one of the things certainly that we want to do is provide urban green space. We think that's really important. We do want people to understand those, that we are more than just a park. There are things going on here that go beyond what you might expect at just a park. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We also want to certainly encourage education and discovery. This is an area, the education area, obviously, where the COVID pandemic presents some challenges beyond what we might have been planning, 8 months ago. But we still hope to be able to do some things in the short term, specifically in the area of environmental education. The picture that you see at the bottom left there, the students that are standing with the shovels, those are actually, that is a photo from our site. The others are obviously not, their stock photography at this point, but that photo is from our site. Those are students from HISD's Chavez High School, which is just down the street from us. Pre-COVID, we were working with a couple of environmental science classes there, and they actually were bringing students over. They do a block schedule, so the students were able to come over for about an hour during the school day and do some work with our horticulture team out in some of our research area. And so we're really looking forward to the day when we can restart things like that. And so research and conservation as well. What you're seeing here is a photo from our site. And so one of the things that was involved in transforming a golf course into a botanic garden was a lot of research on the soil. And so there's been a lot done here to see what needs to be done, can be done to rejuvenate this soil that was obviously subjected to a lot of chemical treatment, but trying to rejuvenate that soil so that we could use the soil from the site in the garden. And they've been able to do a lot through that. And then also, obviously, conserving biodiversity. One of the things I love about the garden, so the garden is placed along Sims Bayou where we are. And we actually have a major portion of our site is an island because the original Sims meander and then the flood control channel that was put in later makes about 70 acres of our site completely surrounded by Sims Bayou now. And so, one of the things we love about this is it truly is Houston's garden, for the Bayou City to have a botanic garden that is very reliant on the bayou that runs near it, we love. And so we're already seeing so many, you see here a butterfly, but so much wildlife already being drawn back to the site as construction winds down. And certainly it's an opportunity for social development and support as well. So the photos you see here were taken back in January, pre-COVID. But we had a kind of a sneak peek for our neighbors. One of the first spaces that we finished was our family discovery garden. And so the mayor came, Councilmember Robert Gallegos there on the right is the council member for our district. He's been very supportive as well. And so it was a great opportunity. We had about 550 people come on a Sunday afternoon to get that sneak peek. Now, here's an aerial that was taken in July 2020. So there to the left, you see I-45 South. That's the Sims Bayou channel that is visible there. And then the meander is harder to see just because, but it's creating the island. So what you see there, there's a large, you can kind of see a large square with some concrete pathways going through. That is on the island. The area down near the bottom, you can see again some concrete making kind of some neat designs. That's our family discovery garden on what we call the South Gardens. So the way the property is set up, the official entrance is off of Park Place Boulevard, and because that leads onto the island, there is an entry bridge that people cross over, and then they will come down what we call Botanic Lane. And so the idea really is, like, as you cross that bridge, you can kind of leave the bustle of the city behind. This photo, obviously during construction, those concrete things you see are just being held to be installed somewhere else. But they've planted some new oaks you can see there. And so the thought is that with time, obviously this will become a very nice tree-lined entry, ultimately with an overstory. That'll be a nice way for people to transition into the space. Our welcome pavilion, again, some of these photos are a little bit older at this point, but We'll be there to greet people. We will obviously, given COVID, be pushing online ticket sales, but we do have a ticket window. We are hopeful that, if people were to show up the day of, we would have tickets available to offer them. Because we are an outdoor space with 132 acres, we are currently planning and believe, that we can, with capacity limits, probably make available about 500 tickets an hour. And so we don't think we will, we would love to max out at that, every hour, but most likely probably not going to happen, at least right away. And so from the Welcome Pavilion, people will progress through our gate. Our gate is now up, but again, wasn't in time for this photo. But the first thing that they come into is a pine grove area that you see there. Those pines were just brought in within the last couple of months. That'll be kind of just a general gathering space. There will be, tables and chairs there. Now, again, how people gather in COVID days will be different than what we originally intended, but just a kind of a nice place to come in. And then just adjacent to that as well, there's an entry fountain, not yet in its final form. The blocks there you can see, but it'll have aquatic plants planted on it as well. And so an interesting thing about this fountain, you can see the wall in the background. It has a layer of coral stone from the Dominican Republic. So when they cut the sheets of the coral stone to put up on the wall, when they reached the end of the blocks and got to the point where it wasn't solid enough to cut a sheet, that's what these blocks in the fountain are. They were kind of the remnants of that. So these are blocks that came in from the Dominican Republic for this fountain. Now, the space has basically three kind of formal gardens at opening, a couple of what we call natural ecosystem areas, and then one outdoor event space. The largest of those spaces is the Global Collection Garden. It's 3 acres. And so this is just going to give you a quick overview. But again, that wall I was talking about has a football field length of man-made shade. We have these cast concrete archways that we call the alcoves. And so this is just a portion of it. But again, it goes for almost a full football field length. And then there along the wall, there are some cast concrete benches as well. So this will be covered seating, protection from the sun, protection from the rain, all of it overlooking this Global Collection Garden. We'll have a vine collection that grows up along those pillars that you see. And then you can see some little rectangles kind of in the wall. Those are all planters. So there will be plants planted within the wall as well for people to look out onto that. So here's a photo. The center of the Global Collection Garden is what we call the tropical heart. The Global Collection Garden includes tropical, subtropical, and arid plants drawn from around the world, hence its name, that about 85% of which we are pretty confident will do well in Houston, which is in USDA Hardiness Zone 9A. There's about 15% of things that we will try experimentally to see how they do. But again, tropics obviously a major part of that, and so this tropical heart reflects that. Here's another view, but then to also show you, you can see here on the left what we call the upland forest, in the center what we call the arid valley, and on the right the savanna. So you have kind of a New World, very dense green area. You have your arid valley with succulents and cactus, and then your savanna with the grasses representing a grassland like that. So truly within 3 acres, you can wander around and see the world. Here's one of the interesting things we have in our Global Collection Garden. We have 2 of these. They're curiosity cabinets. And so the concept behind a curiosity cabinet dates back to the 1500s and 1600s in Europe. And to the best of my knowledge and the research I've done, basically it would be like Ripley's Believe It or Not circa 1600. And so people would gather unique items of various types and put in these cabinets. Our goal for the cabinets would be to mostly have natural items in there, especially that would appeal to children. So, maybe large or unique pine cones and maybe some palm fluorescents and things. Now, with COVID, we probably won't have those things in place right away. But we do hope at least that the cabinet is something that kids and adults, you see a short door there on this end. The other end has a adult size doorway that people can go through. And then here just quickly a few plants that we have, some detailed shots showing different types of plants that we've got. On the left, the shrimp plant, and then the elephant ear in the middle are both in the tropical area. And the one on the right it grows in South America. And it's got a really unique look to it. Now, the second of those feature gardens is our culinary garden. And this is the last one that's being planted. And so I'm going to tell you right now that we open in 2 weeks, and it looks a little bit better than this picture, but there is still a lot of planting to go. Our construction contractors are working very quickly. This is about an acre. And again, it does have a very global focus. And so it's kind of themed throughout the space. There's an area that's focused on the Mediterranean. So obviously olives and things like that. There's an area for the Americas, an area for Asia. There's also what we call the apothecary corner. So in addition to edible plants, there'll be some medicinal plants in this area. And the vertical structures that you see there are water walls. They will not like a solid wall of water, perhaps like what you are familiar with at Williams Tower, but they do have a water, certain places where water comes through. So that'll make a nice feature, we believe. Those will not be completed at opening. So we had an initial capital campaign goal of $35 million. We wound up raising 38.5, which was great. And so there were some things that we were able to add back in at the last minute because of that. A few of those items, such as the water walls, will be slightly behind the opening of everything else. And then we have our Susan Garber Family Discovery Garden. So this is the one, when I showed the overall aerial, it's on what we call the South Garden. So it's south of the main channel. It is organized around a lagoon that started with a water feature from the golf course, but that water feature has certainly been enhanced from where it was there. But here's just, again, a variety of things for you to see. There with the lagoon, you can see we have the boardwalk maze that's surrounded by irises. You can see there in the bottom right corner a pitcher plant. So we do have a carnivorous bog as well. And we have a rainbow garden, which kind of uses different flowers especially, but even plants that have colors to show kind of the colors of the rainbow in order. So this is a really nice space, not just for children, it really is for families. Here's another shot through some of those plants. The red there you see is the beginning of the rainbow, the red of the rainbow bed. You can see the boardwalk maze also has cypresses around it. And then here's one more shot showing from another angle, there's the rainbow bed. Now you're looking back from the violet end up. And you can see the lagoon there. And then we have hands-on water play, which again will not be open at initially because of COVID, which is a shame. This is a really popular area with kids, but there's an Archimedes screw there, a couple of old style hand pumps, and then all of the wooden structures there, they have movable parts so that kids can change the flow of the water, they can dam up different pieces. So I mean, there's a lot of great learning opportunities here, and we are hopeful that things will get to the point soon that we can utilize these. You can see there's a seesaw off on the right, and as people seesaw on that, there's some a couple of vertical poles that send water up, and they got kind of unique. One of them spins a certain way as you seesaw and you send the water up. So that's a fun space. We're looking forward to being able to fully utilize it. In addition to those 3 gardens, we do have 2 natural ecosystem areas. One of them is a stormwater wetlands, and so this is actually adjacent to the Sims Meander, and just as people come in over that bridge to their left, I heard clearly that there seem to be a lot of Aggies in this audience. So we are working with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension's Texas Community Watershed Partners on this part of the project. And so they are actually in the process now of coming. And so, you know, stormwater detention is necessary and required in Houston, but ours is more than just those grassy basins you might see some places. Texas A&M AgriLife Extension is actually coming and planting aquatic plants in this area. So in addition to flood mitigation, these basins will also help with water purification. And so we're really excited about that. And again, the educational opportunities that come along with that. And so they'll be planting in this area. They're coming twice a week with volunteers, and I think they're going to be planting through November. The other thing we have is a coastal prairie. This is similar in some ways to the wetlands. It is an area that's been excavated out. It is adjacent to that meander, so water can come up in this. What you're seeing here, and it is absolutely stunning, but this is actually just the second cover crop The Texas Wildlife Federation will be back soon to plant the actual native grasses and other things that will be in this space long term. But the cover crops have been spectacular here. And it's just a really nice 2-acre space. And this is one of those areas where you see the tree off to the right there. There is an old concrete golf cart path that's there. And so anywhere we didn't have to take up the concrete golf cart paths, they're still there. So there's a lot of space for people after they've gone and seen like the formal gardens to then just walk the natural areas of the site. So this is your chance to be part of history. You know, I showed that slide early on. Houston has a lot of established cultural organizations, but you know, it's been a long time since we've really had an opportunity to be part of a new one. And so the Houston Botanic Garden is certainly that. And so one of the reasons we're excited to be talking to you right now is because we are opening our gates in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, in fact. And so what we are opening with is what we're calling an opening season. We actually were already planning this pre-COVID, but it works out really well for COVID. So there won't be just one grand opening day. We're spreading things out. And in the process of spreading them out, we're going to highlight some of those major regions from which we draw plants. So Latin America, Asia, Africa, and the Mediterranean. And the theme of each of those weekends, and that is what they are, we're kind of spreading them out over weekends. So
Yeah,
Latin America is the opening weekend,
What?
September
It doesn't
18,
look like
19,
they are
and
recording
20.
this.
Well,
one.
it says right there.
Oh, yeah, it is recording, yeah.
September 18, 19, and 20 for Latin America, October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th for Asia, October 16, 17, and 18 for Africa, and then October 30th, 31st, and November 1st for the Mediterranean. And each of these opening season weekends, we're going to be kind of celebrating how the cultures of these different places connect with plants. So obviously all of the plants will be the same across the garden every weekend, but we will have some additional educational programming that's obviously kind of changed from what we initially envisioned, but we're looking to kind of an ongoing continuous demonstrations type approach. So for instance, for the Latin American weekends, I know we're going to have a Latin American chef and cookbook author here doing demonstrations on preparing and cooking with prickly pear, because we do have several species of prickly pear cactus in the garden. For the Mediterranean, I know we have someone that's going to be coming and doing demonstrations about olive oil. So that kind of thing each of these weekends. So certainly we would love for people to come to all 4, but at the same time, just to help spread out, if people have a specific area they're interested in, we would encourage them to come. That additional programming will be included at no extra charge during these weekends, which will be unique because as we move forward and have programming, there probably will be additional fees. So speaking of fees and costs, so we have weekday and weekend ticket pricing. And so on those weekends, and for the weekend's sake, we're Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Adult tickets are $15, children 3 to 15, and then students with a valid ID are $10. On the weekday, there's a slight discount on all of those. So Mondays through Thursdays, adults are $12.50, children and students are $8. And then during the week, we will also offer a group rate. So if people put together a group of 15 or more, they can get in for $7.50 a person. Now, on top of these, so this is general admission. This gets you into the garden, access to basically all 132 acres. We will have periodic scheduled tours. We have 3 times a week, we'll have tours being given by volunteer docents, and once a week on Saturdays, we will have tours given by a member of our horticulture staff. And there is a small additional fee for each of those on top of general admission, but again, those are optional. You can pay this rate, come in. Your time ticket will have a time stamped on it, and basically, if your ticket says 10 o'clock, what that means is you need to use that ticket and enter between 10 and 11. But then once you're here, you're here. We're open daily from 9 to 5. There's not an specific out time beyond closing. Now, in addition to individual tickets, much like many of the other cultural organizations, we are selling memberships. They are already on sale, and we've already sold a good number, which we're excited about. But you can see the information there. Individual, dual, family and friends, and then supporter and patron are donation level memberships. So there's, those are higher than just possibly the benefits you get. The family and friends is an amazing deal. That's the one we're really excited to tell people about. Basically, the membership for 4 adults and 6 children at $125. If you brought 4 adults and 6 children on a weekend, the ticket price alone would be $120. So for just $5 more, you become a member and you can come as often as you want during your membership year. Now, one other thing we have going on that I would be remiss if I didn't mention is we are currently have a dollar for dollar match going towards our annual fund. And so we're really excited about that opportunity to get people, to start getting people engaged in supporting the mission of the garden. Certainly buying memberships, buying tickets, coming and see us, telling your friends about us, all of those things are great and support us. But this opportunity to have a doubled impact through our annual fund donation is valid through opening day. So we've got 2 weeks left on this. And so we certainly would appreciate your support if you have any inclination to do that. You know, annual fund, as I'm sure many of you are aware, I mean, that supports all kinds of operational needs. So education and programs, garden and landscape maintenance, necessities for visitor experience, community engagement efforts. It makes it possible for us to do things like this and present to the community, and also help support our volunteer and docent programs. Speaking of volunteer opportunities, that is another way. If you have any interest and want to get involved, we have a lot of different ways that we can use people, and we have been able, this picture again was taken pre-COVID, but we have been able to restart some of our volunteer things, especially work in the garden, because it's, you know, it's easier to spread people out. We do require masks. And so there's a lot of that going on, but we have opportunities to work, get dirty, get your hands dirty if you like. We also, again, are going to be using volunteers to lead the docent tours. As we ramp up our programming director would be happy to have volunteer support there. We have people that serve as ambassadors when we can. We've gone out and, you know, had a booth at different community events to let people know about the garden. We typically staff those with volunteers. As we have special events, we can use people. We have administrative tasks in the office and things that you can even be doing from home that could help us in that area. And then we will have a community garden. It won't be ready on opening day, but it'll be along our south property line with entry to the neighborhood where people can come in and lease a plot. And so we have ways that volunteers could work there. All of these details and many, many more, because obviously I'm speaking quickly and trying to be cognizant of time. All of these details are available at our website, hbg.org, so HBG for Houston Botanic Garden.org. We put the new site up just a few weeks back. We're really excited. Again, you can buy tickets. Tickets are already on sale. Advanced tickets are on sale. You can buy memberships there. All the information about our hours. There's an interactive garden map where you can kind of see how everything lays out. And then also for those of you that do social media, we are active on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We would love for you to follow us there for updates, photos, all kinds of information. That's a great way to kind of become a part of our community too. That was really quick. I know my time is limited. I understand though, if there are some quick questions, I would certainly be happy to answer those. Also, I believe James should have my contact information. I could also type it in the chat, but you are certainly welcome to reach out to me directly with any questions. As you can tell, talking about the garden is what I do. So I'm happy to do that.
Justin, thank you for that. I would imagine we probably do have some questions. I'm going to start off with one, and that is, insofar as the, obviously, whether you're talking about agricultural life or botanical life, you've got to have a water source. And it appears as though, given your locale, you have plenty of hydration available to your facility just because of the locale of the facility. You know, is that correct?
Yes. So we are very blessed to have the bio right here by us. I mean, there is a lot of in-ground irrigation that was added as part of the construction. And so I don't have all of the specifics on that, but I mean, a lot of it will be irrigated with in-ground irrigation systems. But yes, I mean, a lot of the natural area, I think, will just, you know, benefit from proximity to the bayou in some of those cases. And then, like I know, for instance, the stormwater wetlands area, you know, it has outflow, but it's designed where, you know, the water comes in, stays a certain period of time and goes back out. But no, I think we'll be, you know, obviously close to the coast, hopefully we've been a little bit hesitant to get too much rain under construction, but once the construction is done, we'll be happy to have natural rainfall as well.
Absolutely. What is this type of anything like the Willow watershed program that you're probably familiar with?
I am familiar with it. This is different from that in that, again, like we do, consider ourselves more of like an outdoor museum. And so I think, we obviously all share a desire to be good stewards of the environment. In that respect, I think there's a lot of overlap there, but I think, in some ways, our mission goes a little bit deeper, perhaps, but no, Houston is there's so many great green spaces. I haven't even been, I see in the comments there, I still need to make it to the Eastern Glades at Memorial Park. We're thrilled about all of the different things that are going on. But yeah, no, I think here, I really hope that people come. One of the things I didn't really even get to address, but is as a botanic garden, most of our plants will have plant labels throughout. So there's information on what the plants are. Those plant labels have details on, we have the scientific names of the plants. We have, the regions that they're native to. We have some information on there about, whether they like full sun, partial sun, whether they attract pollinators. So there's stuff there that we'll be doing. We'll also have a lot of interpretive signage throughout that'll help people better understand, different stories behind the plants. That's one of the big things we're doing too with the opening season, again, is trying to kind of help people understand how people have used plants. One of my just anecdotal favorite stories is in our apothecary corner section of our culinary garden. We have, and I can't tell you the scientific name off the top of my head, but we have a tree that's known as the toothache tree. And it got that name because Native Americans chewed its bark because it numbed their mouths. And so, that's just a really, something we don't even think about in our day and age where we're so reliant on, commercial medicine, but, there's great history in the way people have connected with plants through the years.
Okay. Do we have some more questions? Joe?
Yeah. Is there any coordination with like Mercer Gardens and the Houston Botanical Garden at Memorial Park or Armand Bio Gardens?
So we don't have any official partnerships with any of those places, but again, it's very collegial here in Houston, so certainly we are always in communication with them. I know, for instance, I think one of the closer connections actually is the Katy Prairie Conservancy. I think we reached out to them and have worked with them some talking about our coastal prairie area. But I know like members of our staff, have been in contact with Mercer. We also are in constant contact with the zoo, especially during COVID. We've been kind of monitoring their guest experience with reopening during COVID and how those things are going. So we feel very welcome, and it is not, it is competitive. Obviously, we're competing for people's attention and for their dollars. But I think, again, the overall thought is that all of these different benefits are so good for our city in general. And so we're all just being supportive of each other.
Vanu?
I have a kind of a funny techie question. So how did you guys manage to snatch a three-letter URL? Those are hard to come by. They were snapped up years ago.
I have no idea. They did that before I got here. But yeah, I don't know. We actually have HoustonBotanicGarden.org as well, but we use the HBG because it's shorter. But yeah, I'd have to ask somebody that was here before me.
Yeah, they were gone years ago.
Okay. Any further questions for
Jim has a question.
I'm sorry?
Jim has a question.
Oh, Jim.
I got it answered.
Oh, okay. Kathy Fettinger.
Yeah, I'm just out of total curiosity. The term botanic gardens is not commonly used. It's usually botanical gardens. Why the choice?
Again, decision made before my time. They are, like, if you really look into it, they are basically interchangeable. So I don't know what the decision was. It is something, obviously, I'm very understanding, and a lot of people refer to us as still are going to refer to us as Houston Botanical Garden, and you know, as long as they know where we are, find us and come visit, they can call us whichever one they want in my mind. But yeah, I again, not a decision I was here for, so I don't know for sure.
Okay. Any other questions? I tell you, Gwen?
Yes. So how many years would you say, you know, right now I'm guessing we go there, you know, it's new plantings.
Yes.
Okay. When do we expect this garden to reach its minimal full gloriousness?
That's a good question. And I am not the plant person, so I can't tell you for sure. You know, we have some things that will grow relatively quickly, but I would guess, you know, the master plan is a 30-year plan, the overall master plan for the site. And so, you know, I would hope 10 years from now, you know, things will really have started to, will have filled in more. You know, I do hope that people will be pleasantly surprised, though, even for a new garden. I mean, some of the things that they brought in, and I mean, I could have sat here and shown you pictures for days, and some of you would have liked that, and some of you would have tuned us out. But, you know, there's some really mature things. We have lots of trees that came on trucks, you know, the tree spade trucks, so mature trees that were grown somewhere, or not fully mature, but partially mature trees that were brought in, you know, already having started somewhere else. We're going to plant 1,100 reforestation trees through Trees for Houston. So these will start out much smaller, but in natural areas. So not even in the official garden spaces, but in places where, because of construction, things had to be removed or might have been damaged. And those kinds of things. I mean, it'll take several years, but you know, that's also, we think, something that's kind of appealing, at least to certain people, is the opportunity, and why especially like for people, you know, for memberships and things, like to come, because a garden is going to change. Even in a place like Houston, where seasons are more theoretical sometimes than they are literal, there will be these changes. And so, you know, what a great opportunity for people to come and see that. You know, I was born and raised in Houston. I'm 40 years old, but I've mostly known, I mean, I can kind of remember back, but like the zoo has been the zoo to me forever. You know, I mean, things are kind of been a set. And so what a great opportunity to kind of come and see what like the life cycle of a cultural institution like this is.
Any other questions? Well, Justin, thank you for being here today. That was extremely informative.
Well, you're very welcome.
And James, thank you for setting that up for us, and an excellent program. Hopefully we can, when things open up, maybe we can even have a group outing at your facility, and we'll call on you to help us get that put together.
I would be glad to do that and to be the one to show you around.
I think people would love to get out a little bit. Hopefully let it cool off just a little, and then
that's probably wise.
Yeah.